After returning from her business trip, she walked into her home and found her whole family waiting. Her son looked up and said, "Mum, your time is over. Dad is happier with her." She walked away in silence, and what she did next turned all their lives into a living nightmare. Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter's Stories. She stands in her doorway and realizes she's been dead to them for years. She just didn't know it. Delilah Storm's heels click against marble as she enters her home after 11 days in Dubai. The deal closed at midnight their time, 4 in the afternoon hers. She bought the company that supplies parts to every major automotive manufacturer in North America. $300 million. Her masterpiece, her legacy. The culmination of 18 months of negotiation and 30 years of building an empire most people never knew existed. She's exhausted, but exhilarated. She left her luggage in the car because she wanted to come inside with just herself, just this victory, just this moment of sharing something extraordinary with her family. She imagined Mark opening champagne, her children asking questions about the deal, celebration, recognition. Finally, after 3 decades of hiding her light, maybe tonight they'd see her. The living room is full, too full, wrong, full. Her husband Mark sits in his usual leather chair, the one she bought him for their 20th anniversary. Lady Grande, the woman from his office, the one he swore was just a colleague, just a friend, just someone he worked with, sits in Delilah's favorite chair. The cream velvet one positioned by the window where she used to read on Sunday mornings before anyone else woke up. Lady Grande is wearing Delilah's sapphire necklace, the one Delilah inherited from her grandmother, the one she kept in a locked box in her closet. Her 3 adult children sit on the sofa like a tribunal. Emma, 28, arms crossed over her chest, face hard. Cameron, 26, smirking like this is entertaining. Jason, 23, staring at his hands with tears streaming down his face, but silent, always silent. Nobody stands, nobody greets her, nobody asks about her trip. Nobody notices she's been gone almost 2 weeks. Her son Cameron speaks first, and his voice is casual, almost bored. "Mom, your time is over. Dad is happier with her." The words hang in the air like smoke. Delilah's carry-on bag slides from her shoulder and hits the floor with a dull thud. Mark finally looks at her, and there's nothing in his eyes. No guilt, no apology, not even discomfort. Just relief. Relief that someone else said it. Relief that it's finally over. Relief that he doesn't have to pretend anymore. "Mark." Her voice sounds strange in her own ears. Small, confused, like it belongs to someone else. "Delilah, be reasonable." He's using his boardroom voice, the one he practices in the mirror before meetings, the one that sounds authoritative but says nothing of substance. "We've grown apart. You're never here. You're always working, always traveling, always gone. Lady and I have something real, something you and I haven't had in years. The kids support us. It's time to face reality." Lady Grande leans forward. She's 32, beautiful, confident, wearing a dress that costs more than most people make in a month. A dress Delilah probably paid for without knowing it. "You've had a good run, honey, but look at yourself. You're exhausted, you're never home. You missed every holiday last year. Mark needs someone who puts him first, someone who's actually present." Emma nods sharply. "It's true, Mom. You chose work over family, always. Every recital, every graduation, every important moment, you were somewhere else, closing deals, making money, building your career. You were never there when it mattered." Delilah looks at her daughter, this daughter she carried for 9 months, this daughter whose graduate school she paid for, this daughter whose apartment in Manhattan cost $3,200 a month. "I was closing deals that paid for your apartment, Emma, your graduate school, your wedding that cost more than most people make in 5 years. Cameron laughs. Actually laughs. "Dad paid for all that. Dad built our life. What did you do besides complain about being tired and miss everything important?" "Did he?" Delilah's voice is strange now, distant, like it's coming from underwater. "Did he really?" Mark stands, brushing invisible lint from his expensive slacks. Slacks she bought him. I think you should leave, Delilah. This is my house. I'm asking you to go quietly. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. We can handle the divorce through lawyers. Be reasonable. Take what's fair and move on. Your house. Delilah repeats the words slowly, tasting them, testing them. Your house. I bought this house 25 years ago. I've maintained it. I've paid every bill. It's mine, Delilah. Let's not pretend otherwise. Something shifts in Delilah's chest, something cold and clear and final. Then she does something no one expects. She laughs. One short, cold sound that makes everyone flinch. It doesn't sound like her. It sounds like someone dangerous. She walks past them toward the master bedroom. Lady Grande calls after her, emboldened by the audience. That's right. Crawl away like you should have done years ago. Some women know when they're beat. Guess you finally figured it out. In the bedroom, Delilah opens the safe in her closet, the one Mark doesn't know about, because he's never been curious enough to wonder where she keeps her important documents. He's never been curious about anything that doesn't directly serve him. She pulls out a burner phone, one of 3 she keeps for emergencies, for moments when regular channels might be compromised. She makes a single call. Robert, execute everything, tonight. The voice on the other end is warm, concerned, familiar. 23 years of partnership in that voice. Are you sure? Once we start this, there's no going back. Del, are you absolutely certain? I'm sure. They made their choice. Now, I make mine. I'll have everything frozen within the hour. I'm sorry it came to this. Don't be sorry. Be thorough. She hangs up, opens her closet, pulls out one suitcase. She packs methodically, documents, laptop, her grandmother's ring, the photos of her children from before they became strangers, photos from when they were small and still looked at her with love instead of judgment. She leaves her wedding ring on the bathroom counter, 26 years summarized in a circle of white gold that never meant what she thought it meant. As she rolls the suitcase past the living room, Lady Grande is sprawled in Delilah's chair, like she owns it, Mark's arm around her shoulders. Her children are on their phones, already forgetting she exists, already moving on to whatever comes next. She stops at the door. They all look up, surprised she's still here. Enjoy the house, Delilah says. Her voice is calm, almost pleasant, which somehow makes it more terrifying. You have 72 hours before the foreclosure notice arrives. Mark laughs. It's a confident laugh. What are you talking about? Stop being dramatic. I bought this house. I own this house. You can't just... Delilah's smile is terrifying in its serenity. No, Mark. You never bought anything in your entire life. Not this house, not your car, not your career, not one single thing. You've been living in my world playing pretend, and I let you because I thought that's what love looked like. I was wrong. She opens the door. Mark's voice rises behind her. You can't do this. I have rights. I'll call my lawyer. Do that, Delilah says without turning around. Ask him about the prenuptial agreement you signed 26 years ago, the one you never read because you trusted me. Ask him how much you actually own. The answer might surprise you. The door closes behind her with a soft click. By the time she's in her car, her phone is buzzing with texts she doesn't read. By the time she's on the highway, Mark's credit card is declined at a liquor store where he's buying champagne to celebrate. By midnight, every account is frozen, every credit card rejected, every automatic payment reversed. Mark calls 47 times. She doesn't answer once. She's already somewhere else, already someone else. She's in a private jet heading to Manhattan, drinking champagne with a man her family has never met. Robert Chamberlain is 63, silver-haired, powerful, wearing casual clothes that cost more than Mark spent on suits in a year. He's been in love with her for 23 years, waited 23 years, built an empire alongside her for 23 years, and never once asked her to be smaller. Are you okay? He asks, watching her face carefully. Delilah looks out the window at the clouds below, golden in the sunset. Ask me in 72 hours. They're going to hate you for this. They already did, Robert. They just pretended better before, or maybe I just wanted to believe they didn't. What changed? Why now? You could have left years ago. I've been asking you to leave for years. Delilah turns to him, and her eyes are clear, clearer than they've been in decades. I looked at my son's face when he told me my time was over. He believed it. They all believed I was nothing, just the woman who complained about being tired, just the absent mother, just the wife who wasn't fun anymore. And I realized I'd spent 26 years making myself nothing so they could feel like everything. I taught them I was nothing, and they learned the lesson too well. You were never nothing to me. She squeezes his hand. I know. That's why I finally said yes. I'm going to make you happy, Del. I promise you that. You already do, just by seeing me, just by knowing who I actually am. Below them, in a house that will be foreclosed on in 71 hours, Mark discovers his credit cards don't work. He tells himself it's a computer error, a glitch, something technical that will resolve itself by morning. He opens a bottle of champagne with money he doesn't have and toasts a future that's already over. By morning, he'll know better. By morning, his whole world will have ended, and Delilah Storm, the woman they dismissed, the wife they betrayed, the mother they abandoned, will be just beginning. Chapter 2. The Mathematics of Nothing. Mark wakes up to an eviction notice taped to the front door, and even then he still doesn't understand what's happening. The paper flutters in the morning breeze, official and merciless. Mark tears it down, certain it's a mistake, some administrative error, maybe even a prank. Delilah being petty because her feelings are hurt. He crumples it and calls his lawyer at 7 in the morning. Mark, Jesus, I've been trying to reach you since midnight. We need to talk, immediately. About what? This ridiculous eviction notice someone taped to my door? This is harassment. I want you to... Mark, stop. Listen to me. It's not ridiculous. You don't own that house. You never did. Mark's laugh is shaky, uncertain. That's insane. I've lived there 25 years. I bought that house before Cameron was born. The lawyer's sigh is heavy, exhausted. Your wife bought it, outright, in cash, before you married. The deed has always been in her name, only her name. I'm looking at it right now. That's impossible. I remember buying it. You remember your wife telling you she bought it. You remember moving in. You don't remember signing mortgage papers because there was no mortgage. Mark, she owned it free and clear before you ever met her. Mark's hand shakes. Fine. I'll buy another house. I'll move my accounts. I'll liquidate some investments. What accounts, Mark? What investments? The silence is thick and suffocating. What accounts? The lawyer repeats, and now his voice is gentle, pitying. Mark tries his bank app with shaking fingers. Access denied. He tries another. Frozen. Another. Account closed. This is illegal. She can't just... I have rights. This is theft. It's not theft. You signed a prenuptial agreement. I have it here. I'm reading it now. Mark, this is ironclad. You waived rights to any assets she brought to the marriage or acquired during it. Every account was in her name, every investment, every property. Your salary was paid by Storm Logistics International. So, I'm a senior executive at... No, you were never an employee. You were an independent contractor paid through your wife's company. That contract terminated yesterday at 5 p.m. I called your office. They confirmed you're no longer affiliated with the company in any capacity. Mark's phone explodes with calls. Cameron, then Emma, then Jason. All three calling simultaneously, all three panicking. He ignores them and calls his office directly, hands shaking so badly he can barely hold the phone. The receptionist's voice is apologetic, uncomfortable. I'm sorry, sir. I have you listed as no longer associated with the company. Your access badge has been deactivated. Your company email has been closed. Your parking spot has been reassigned. This is Mark Wahlberg. I've been with this company for 15 years. I'm a senior executive. You can't just... Sir, our records show you were never directly employed by us. You were an independent contractor through Storm Logistics International. That relationship terminated yesterday. I'm very sorry, but I can't help you. Mark hangs up and calls Delilah. The number is disconnected. He tries her office. A voice he doesn't recognize answers, professional and cold. Storm Logistics International, how may I direct your call? I need to speak with Delilah Storm. Immediately. This is her husband. I'm sorry, sir. Mrs. Chamberlain is unavailable and not taking calls. Mrs. who? Mrs. Chamberlain. Is there something else I can help you with? He hangs up, hands trembling. Lady Grande appears in the doorway wearing one of his shirts and nothing else, looking annoyed. Baby, my credit card isn't working. I tried to order breakfast and it was declined. Mine either. She stares at him like he's stupid. Well, use the backup card. They're all frozen. All of them. How is that even possible? I don't know. His voice is too loud, too panicked. She checks her phone, scrolling through it with increasing alarm. Mark, there's an eviction notice on the front door. I saw it when I got coffee. What's going on? I don't know. Well, what are you going to do about it? He looks at her, really looks at her for the first time. This woman he threw away his marriage for, this woman he thought was his future. She's not looking at him with love or concern or partnership. She's calculating, assessing, wondering if she made a mistake, wondering if she bet on the wrong horse, wondering how fast she can get out. His phone buzzes continuously. Cameron. Dad, what's happening? My trust fund is completely empty. The bank says it was transferred out yesterday. Emma. The apartment is being foreclosed. I have 48 hours to vacate. What did you do? Jason. Dad, my graduate school funding is gone. They're saying Mum pulled all the payments. I can't afford next semester. What's going on? Mark tries to call Delilah 50 more times. Every call goes to the same disconnected number. He leaves voicemails that will never be heard. He sends texts that will never be read. By noon, he's at his bank demanding answers, demanding to speak to a manager, demanding justice. The manager looks deeply uncomfortable. He's a young man, mid-30s, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. Mr. Wahlberg, I understand you're upset, but these accounts were never yours. They were corporate accounts you had authorized access to. That access has been revoked by the account holder. By who? By my wife, who's having some kind of breakdown. By the account holder, Delilah Storm. And sir, I need to inform you that she's no longer your wife. Divorce papers were filed and finalized 3 days ago. That's impossible. You can't finalize a divorce in 3 days. The manager slides papers across the desk with obvious reluctance. You can when both parties agree there are no contested assets and there's a prenuptial agreement as comprehensive as this one. According to these documents, you waived your right to contest. You waived your right to any assets. You agreed to expedited proceedings in the event of dissolution. The divorce is final, legally binding, already recorded with the state. Mark reads the papers. His signature is at the bottom, 26 years old, barely legible, next to Delilah's neat, controlled handwriting. He doesn't remember signing this. Delilah handed him papers the week before their wedding, told him it was standard, told him it protected them both, and he signed without reading because he loved her and trusted her and never imagined she was the one with everything to protect. By evening, he's in a motel, the cheapest one he could find that accepted the one credit card that hasn't been declined yet, a gas station card with a $200 limit. The room smells like bleach and cigarettes and failure. Lady Grande sits on the bed staring at her phone, not speaking, not looking at him. We'll figure this out, Mark says, trying to sound confident. I'll get a lawyer, a better lawyer. I'll fight this. She can't just take everything. Lady Grande doesn't look up from her phone. I'm going to stay with my sister. What? This isn't what I signed up for, Mark. You said you were successful. You said you had money. You said you built a life. You said, I thought I did. I thought I had. How was I supposed to know she owned everything? She stands, grabs her purse, starts throwing clothes into a bag. You left your wife for me. You threw away your marriage. And you didn't even know what you owned. You didn't even check. What kind of man does that? You said you loved me. She pauses at the door, looks at him with something between pity and contempt. I loved what you told me you were, but you're not that. You're nothing, Mark, and I don't date nothing. The door closes behind her. Mark sits alone in a motel room that costs $49 a night. His phone buzzes with messages from his children, all of them variations of the same panic. Everything is gone. How is this possible? What did Mom do? Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you protect us? How could you let this happen? He doesn't answer. He has no answers. His entire life was built on a foundation he never looked at closely enough to see was made of sand. And Delilah, quiet, submissive, invisible Delilah who never complained, who never demanded, who just worked and worked and worked, pulled every grain away and watched him sink. The last text comes from a number he doesn't recognize, but he knows it's her. The house will be auctioned Tuesday. Everything inside will be sold to cover liens you didn't know existed. I suggest you collect your personal items before then. You have 48 hours. Don't call me again. DS. Mark throws his phone across the room. It hits the wall and cracks but doesn't shatter, which somehow makes everything worse. Even his phone is sturdier than his life. 26 years, 3 children, a home, a career, a future, a legacy. Gone in 24 hours because he never bothered to ask who was actually building it. And somewhere in Manhattan, in a penthouse he never knew existed, his ex-wife is drinking wine with a man who actually sees her, and she's not thinking about Mark Wahlberg at all. She's finally, completely, entirely free. Chapter 3. The Woman Who Never Existed. Emma breaks into her mother's private office and discovers 27 years of truth written in journals no one was supposed to read. The building is downtown, 15 stories of glass and steel that reflects the morning sun like a diamond. The directory in the lobby lists Storm Logistics International across 5 floors, floors 8 through 12. Emma stands in the marble lobby at 6 in the morning when security is changing shifts, when there's that brief window of chaos and inattention. She uses the emergency key her mother gave her years ago. She doesn't remember when exactly. Maybe she was 16, maybe younger. Delilah handed it to her in a card that said, "In case you ever need me and I'm not answering." Emma tucked it in her jewelry box and forgot about it. Never used it. Never needed it. Never thought her mother could offer her anything she actually wanted. The elevator takes her to the 10th floor. The hallway is quiet, expensive, intimidating. Thick carpet that swallows sound, recessed lighting, art on the walls that looks museum quality. The door marked Private D. Storm opens to her key. Inside is an office that makes Emma's breath catch in her throat. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city, the sunrise painting everything gold. A desk made of dark wood, mahogany maybe, or walnut, that probably costs more than Emma's car. Behind it, built-in shelves hold awards Emma has never seen, awards she didn't know existed. She walks closer, reading the inscriptions through tears that are already forming. International Businesswoman of the Year, 2018. Supply Chain Innovator Award, 2015. Top 50 Women in Logistics, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2019, 2021. There are more, so many more. Photos with world leaders. Emma recognizes a former president, 2 senators, a tech CEO famous enough to be a household name, the Prime Minister of Singapore. Her mother is in every photo looking confident, powerful, at ease in rooms full of power. A framed magazine cover catches her eye. Storm Logistics, the Invisible Empire, with her mother's face prominently featured. Another, Delilah Storm, the woman behind America's supply chain. A third, from an international publication, How One Woman Revolutionized Global Logistics While Everyone Credited Men. Emma's legs feel weak. She sits down hard in her mother's chair. Leather, expensive, worn in a way that speaks of thousands of hours spent here. The chair at home, the one Lady Grande sat in, was decorative. This chair is real. This is where her mother actually lived. On the desk are leather-bound journals, dated and numbered. 27 of them. Emma opens the first one with shaking hands. The handwriting is her mother's, but younger, more optimistic, rounder. Year 1. I met Mark today at Janet's party. He's charming, confident, easy with people in a way I've never been. He doesn't know I own 3 companies. He thinks I'm Janet's secretary. I should tell him the truth. but he looked so happy telling me about his dreams, his plans for the future. He wants to be important. He wants to build something. I think I can love him and let him feel important. I think I can make that work. Maybe I won't have to be alone. Emma's hands shake. She opens another journal 5 years later. Cameron's 5th birthday party. Mark took credit for the party again, told everyone he planned the whole thing. I smiled and nodded, and pretended I wasn't the one who spent weeks organizing every detail. Why do I do that? Why do I make myself smaller? I negotiated a $50 million deal yesterday. I'm on the cover of Forbes International, but I came home and pretended I'd spent the day shopping. Cameron asked why I'm never home. I wanted to tell him I'm building his future. I wanted to tell him I'm securing his life. I said nothing. What kind of mother says nothing? Another journal. Emma flips forward, reads entries at random, each one a knife. Beijing deal closed today. 3 years of negotiation. $200 million contract that will secure 800 American jobs. Came home exhausted and excited. Mark complained the wine wasn't chilled. Told me not to talk business nonsense at the dinner table because it makes me sound masculine and off-putting. Cameron laughed and agreed. Said I should try being more like his friend's mum who bakes cookies and doesn't talk about boring stuff. I went to bed and cried in the bathroom with the shower running so no one would hear. Emma's vision blurs. She keeps reading. Doctor's appointment today. Blood pressure dangerously high. 165/105. Doctor asked about stress. I lied and said Mark's job is demanding. Couldn't tell him I just finished negotiating a multi-continent supply chain contract while pretending to coordinate a PTA bake sale. He prescribed medication and told me to slow down. I wanted to laugh. If I slow down, everything collapses. They don't know they're standing on a foundation I built. If I stop building, they fall. More entries, more pain. Emma's graduation. I flew back from Tokyo early, arrived exhausted, sat in the back because I was late. Mark gave a speech about making sacrifices for family, and everyone applauded. Emma hugged him after and thanked him for always being there. She walked right past me, didn't even see me. I paid $165,000 for that degree. I'm invisible even to my own daughter. Another page. Emma can barely see through her tears now. Jason's soccer game. Final game of the season. Mark forbade me from going, said it was his thing with Jason, said I make everything about work. So I went in disguise, baseball cap, sunglasses, sat in the bleachers away from the other parents, watched my son score the winning goal, watched Mark take credit for coaching him. Jason doesn't know I was there, doesn't know I've been to every game this season, doesn't know I leave board meetings early to watch him from a distance. What kind of mother has to hide to watch her own child? Emma finds an entry from 10 years ago that makes her physically sick. Lost the baby today. Miscarriage at 16 weeks. I was in Singapore when it started. Called Mark crying, begging him to come, begging him to fly out and be with me. He said he'd already paid the entry fee for the golf tournament. Said it was a regional championship. Said he couldn't just walk away. I bled alone in a hotel room at the Raffles. The hotel doctor was kind. Gave me pills for the pain. I flew home 2 days later and Mark asked if I had a good trip. A good trip? I said yes, I'm so tired. My body is so tired. What kind of marriage is this? What kind of life? Emma is sobbing now, her whole body shaking. She opens journal after journal. Every sacrifice documented in careful handwriting. Every time Mark took credit. Every business triumph hidden. Every achievement celebrated alone. Every birthday Emma missed while her mother was working 18-hour days to fund Emma's lifestyle. Another entry, this one with handwriting that looks shaky, written at 2 a.m. according to the timestamp. Emergency room tonight. Chest pains during the London negotiations. Thought I was having a heart attack. It was a panic attack. The ER doctor asked if I have support at home. I said yes. Lied again. Came home at 4 a.m. Mark didn't wake up. Didn't ask where I'd been. In the morning he complained I looked tired and it was aging me. I'm 52 years old and my body is breaking down from carrying everyone. One entry stops her cold. Makes her want to vomit. Emma called me embarrassing today at the restaurant. Said I'm too serious, not fun like other mums. Said I don't know how to relax. Said I'm always stressed and it's uncomfortable to be around. Said this in front of her friends. They all laughed. She said this while wearing a $400 dress I bought her with money from the Japanese manufacturing contract. She said this while living in an apartment I own. She said this while planning a wedding I'm funding. She said this and I absorbed it like I absorb everything. I make myself a ghost so they can be real. Is this love or is this cowardice? Am I teaching my own children to despise me? Emma finds another entry that destroys her. Thanksgiving. I worked all night finishing the Italian negotiations so I could be home for dinner. Arrived at 2 p.m., exhausted. Mark and the kids were already eating. Didn't wait. Emma said, "Mum finally decided to show up." Cameron said, "Better late than never, I guess." Mark said nothing, just kept eating. I sat down. Nobody asked about my trip. Nobody asked if I was okay. I served myself cold turkey and smiled and pretended my chest wasn't tight. Went to bed at 7 p.m. Could hear them laughing downstairs. Happier without me. She finds the final entry, dated 3 days before her mother came home to that terrible scene. Robert asked me again to leave. 23 years he's waited. 23 years he's loved me while I honored vows to a man who honored nothing. My children are adults now. They don't need me. They never really did. They need my money, which isn't the same thing. They need what I provide, not who I am. Robert said something today that broke me. We were at dinner and I was talking about Cameron's gambling debts I'd paid off again, and Robert said, "You're not a wife to him, you're a bank, and you're not a mother to them. You're an ATM they resent for not dispensing enough." He's right. God help me, he's right. I've given everything and gotten nothing, not even their curiosity about where the money comes from. They think Mark provides. They think I'm just here. I'm done being just here. This time, I choose myself. This time, I choose someone who sees me. This time, I choose life. Emma's phone rings. It's Cameron. She doesn't answer, can't answer. She keeps reading, keeps destroying herself with truth. There's a file labeled Family Expenses, Complete Records, 26 years. Emma opens it with shaking hands. Inside are spreadsheets that document everything, every single expense, every payment, every sacrifice quantified in cold numbers. The house, $2.4 million, paid in cash by Delilah 3 months before the wedding. Cameron's college, $280,000. His gambling debts, $127,000 the first time, $168,000 the second time, $105,000 the third time. Emma's apartment, $3,200 monthly rent for 6 years. $230,400 total. Her graduate school, $165,000. Her wedding, $175,000. Jason's undergraduate, $240,000. His graduate school, $90,000 annually, 3 years so far. Mark's salary from Storm Logistics, $300,000 yearly for a position that required him to attend occasional meetings, play golf with clients, and show up at events where he pretended to be important. Every penny documented, every lie exposed, every truth Emma never wanted to know laid bare in neat columns and careful calculations. She finds more in the drawer, medical records, her mother's medical records that she shouldn't have but kept here, away from home. Prescriptions for blood pressure medication starting 15 years ago. Anxiety medication starting 10 years ago. Notes from doctors recommending stress reduction, lifestyle changes, therapy. Her mother's blood pressure history, rising steadily year after year. 130 over 85, then 140 over 92, then 155 over 98, then 165 over 105. Notes about chronic headaches, insomnia, stress-induced heart palpitations. A letter from a cardiologist dated 3 years ago. Mrs. Storm, your cardiovascular system is showing signs of chronic stress. If you don't make significant changes to reduce your stress load, you are at serious risk for cardiac events. Please consider the lifestyle modifications we discussed. Emma realizes with horror. Her mother's body was literally breaking down from the weight of carrying all of them, and none of them noticed. None of them asked if she was okay. She finds photographs in another drawer. Her mother with world leaders at economic summits, shaking hands with presidents and prime ministers. Her mother receiving awards on stages in front of thousands. Her mother cutting ribbons at factory openings while workers applaud. Her mother standing beside Robert Chamberlain at charity galas, business conferences, corporate events. In every photo with Robert, her mother is smiling, really smiling. The kind of smile that reaches the eyes and transforms a face. The kind of smile Emma never, ever saw at home. In the photos at home, the few that exist, her mother looks tired, strained, faded, like a ghost of herself. Here in her real life, she's vibrant, alive, powerful, beautiful. Emma's phone shows 47 missed calls. She ignores them all. She sits in her mother's chair, her mother's real chair, in her mother's real office, surrounded by her mother's real life, and calls the one number she found written in the latest journal. 3 rings. Then, hello? Her mother's voice, but different, stronger, colder, unfamiliar. Mum? Silence, long enough that Emma thinks she might hang up. Mum, I'm in your office. I found the journals. I found everything. Then you know. The voice is flat, emotionless. I know I never knew you at all. No, Emma, you never bothered to know me. There's a difference. The information was always available. You just never looked. I'm sorry. You're sorry you were wrong. You're sorry you lost your apartment and your trust fund. You're sorry your life is disrupted. You're not sorry for how you treated me. Those are different things. That's not true. I'm sorry I hurt you. You stood in my house 3 days ago. You watched your father's mistress wear my grandmother's necklace. You watched her sit in my chair. You watched him dismiss me. And you smirked, Emma. You actually smirked, like I was finally getting what I deserved for being absent, for working too much, for not being fun. Emma's throat is too tight to speak. You chose your side. You made that choice freely. You chose wrong. Now you live with it. Mom, please, don't call me again. The line goes dead. Emma sits in her mother's office surrounded by evidence of a woman she never knew existed, a titan who made herself invisible, a genius who played small so others could feel big, a mother who gave everything and got judgment in return, a woman whose body was literally breaking down from stress while her family complained she wasn't fun enough. Her phone rings again. It's Jason. She answers this time because she can't sit in silence anymore. Emma, did you know? His voice is wrecked. Destroyed. Did you know Mom paid off Cameron's gambling debts 3 times? Did you know she came to every one of my soccer games in disguise because Dad forbade her from wasting time on my hobby? Did you know she funded every single thing in our lives? How do you know all that? I broke into Dad's storage unit, found old bank statements he kept, found records. Mum funded everything, everything. The house, the cars, our education, our lives, everything. And we treated her like she was the problem. We treated her like she was defective for not being around more. We never once asked why she worked so hard. We just judged her for it. Emma looks out the window at the city her mother conquered while pretending to be nothing. Jason, I found her medical records. Her blood pressure was so high she was at risk for a heart attack. She had panic attacks. She was literally killing herself to fund our lives, and we called her embarrassing. The silence on the line is deafening. We destroyed her, Jason. We stood there and let Dad humiliate her, and we destroyed her. I know. And she's never going to forgive us. Can you blame her? Emma thinks about the journals. About 27 years of sacrifice documented in careful handwriting, about a woman who made herself small so her family could feel big, about a mother who gave everything, her health, her visibility, her identity, her happiness, and got nothing, not even curiosity about where it all came from. No, Emma whispers, I can't blame her at all. Chapter 4. The Real Husband. Delilah appears on national television, and the world learns the truth about the woman who built an empire while hiding behind a man who built nothing. The 60 Minutes interview is scheduled for Sunday night prime time. 15 million people will watch. Delilah sits across from the interviewer in a black Armani suit that fits perfectly, hair pulled back in a sleek bun, minimal jewelry, looking exactly like the executive she always was, but never got to be publicly. "Mrs. Chamberlain, thank you for sitting down with us. Thank you for having me. Let's address the elephant in the room immediately. Mrs. Chamberlain, you were married for 26 years to Mark Wahlberg. You divorced him 2 weeks ago, and you're already remarried to Robert Chamberlain, your business partner of 23 years. That's generated significant controversy." Delilah's expression doesn't change. "I married Robert 3 weeks ago. The divorce from Mark was finalized 2 weeks before that. So technically I wasn't remarried immediately. There was a gap. A gap of 1 week. Yes, that's still extraordinarily fast by any standard. It's efficient. The prenuptial agreement Mark and I signed before our marriage was comprehensive and clear. There were no assets to divide because Mark never owned any assets. The divorce was uncontested. When both parties agree and there's nothing to negotiate, the process can be quite quick." The interviewer leans forward, sensing something bigger. "You're one of the richest self-made women in America. Storm Logistics International is valued at $4.2 billion. You personally own 80% of the company, but until 2 weeks ago, almost no one knew your name. Most people had never heard of you. Why?" "That was intentional. Why would someone as successful as you want to be invisible?" Delilah pauses, choosing her words carefully. "Because I married a man with a fragile ego. He needed to feel important, needed to feel successful, needed to feel like he was providing. I thought making myself small would make him feel big. I thought that's what love looked like. I was wrong. Making myself small just made me invisible. And invisibility, I learned, is indistinguishable from non-existence." "Tell us about Storm Logistics. How did you build it?" "I started the company 30 years ago with $10,000 I saved working 3 jobs during and after college. I saw an inefficiency in the supply chain for automotive parts. Suppliers were dealing directly with manufacturers, no intermediary, lots of waste. I fixed it, started small. 1 supplier, 1 manufacturer. Built trust, expanded. Today we supply 40% of North America's automotive industry. We also have exclusive contracts with every major retailer for their logistics needs. We're behind 15 corporate successes over the past 2 decades that the business press attributed to various executives, including my ex-husband. Mark Wahlberg believed he was a successful executive. Mark Wahlberg was an independent contractor paid by my company. I gave him the title of senior consultant and paid him $300,000 yearly to attend occasional meetings and play golf with clients. He believed he earned that position through merit. He didn't." The interviewer's eyebrows rise. "You paid him to pretend to be important. I paid him to feel important. I thought that's what wives did. Supported their husbands' egos, built them up, made them feel successful. I was wrong about that too. Your children also believed their father was the provider, the successful one." Delilah's mask cracks slightly, just for a moment. Pain flashes across her face before she controls it. "My children are adults. They made their choices based on the information they had, or rather, based on the information they never bothered to seek. They lived in comfort and never questioned its source. That tells you something about them, about me, about what I taught them by hiding. They sided with their father during the separation. They sided with the person they thought had power. They were wrong about who that was. But I taught them to be wrong by spending 26 years pretending I was nothing. That must have hurt deeply. It clarified things. I spent 26 years sacrificing for people who didn't value the sacrifice. When they had to choose between comfortable lies and uncomfortable truth, they chose lies. That told me everything I needed to know about the relationship I'd built with them." A commercial break. When they return, Robert Chamberlain is sitting beside Delilah. He wasn't scheduled to appear, but he insisted. The production team scrambled. The chemistry between them is obvious, undeniable. The interviewer looks surprised, but pleased. "Mr. Chamberlain, thank you for joining us. This wasn't planned. I couldn't let her do this alone. Robert takes Delilah's hand, naturally, easily. I've been letting her do things alone for 23 years, not anymore. Tell us about your relationship. When did it begin? I met Delilah 23 years ago. My company wanted to acquire a smaller logistics firm she owned. She was 38, brilliant, and she demolished us in negotiations, completely destroyed us. I'd never met anyone that sharp, that quick, that strategic. We became partners instead of competitors, and I fell in love with her that same day. But she was married. She was, and she took her vows seriously, even to a man who didn't deserve her and didn't honor his own vows. I waited, told her I'd wait forever if that's what it took. Delilah squeezes his hand. Robert saw me, the real me, not the version I performed for Mark. He celebrated my success instead of feeling threatened by it. He challenged me intellectually instead of requiring me to pretend to know less. He loved me for who I actually am, not for what I could provide. When did your relationship become romantic? 3 weeks ago, Delilah says. The day my divorce was final. Robert proposed that evening. We married the next day. Some people will say that's too fast, that you couldn't possibly have processed the end of a 26-year marriage that quickly. Robert laughs, and it's genuine. I waited 23 years. That's not fast. That's extraordinarily patient. Del was processing that marriage for years before it ended. By the time she left, she'd already mourned it. I just had to wait for her to be free. The interview continues. Delilah explains how she hid her success, how she funded her family's entire lifestyle while Mark took credit, how her children never questioned where the money came from, how she attended international business summits while claiming she was shopping, how she built an empire while pretending to be a housewife who couldn't quite manage domestic duties properly. The interviewer asks the question everyone watching wants answered. Why did you finally leave? What was the breaking point? Delilah's face hardens. I came home from closing the biggest deal of my career, $300 million, 30 years of work culminating in one perfect acquisition. I walked into my house and my family was waiting. My husband's mistress was wearing my jewelry, sitting in my chair, in my house. My children were there, standing with him, supporting him. And my son looked at me and said, "Mom, your time is over. Dad is happier with her." They dismissed me. After 26 years of funding their lives, building their futures, sacrificing my visibility so they could shine, they looked at me and dismissed me like I was nothing. What did you feel in that moment? Clarity. Complete, perfect clarity. I realized I'd been teaching them for 26 years that I was nothing, and they learned the lesson perfectly. What did you do? I walked away. I called Robert and told him to execute our contingency plan. We'd had one for years, just in case. Within 24 hours, Mark discovered he owned nothing. The house, the cars, the accounts, all mine. His job, my company, his children's trust funds, my money which I removed. I didn't take anything from them. I simply stopped giving. Some people will call that cruel. Delilah's smile is sharp. Some people will call it justice. I call it self-respect. I spent 26 years lighting myself on fire to keep them warm. The day I stopped burning, they called me cruel. That tells you everything about who they are and what they valued. The interview goes viral within an hour of airing. Mark watches from his motel room and throws a lamp through the TV screen. Cameron watches from his friend's couch and feels something he's never felt before. Shame. Real shame. Emma watches from a coffee shop and weeps into her hands. Jason watches from a library computer and finally fully understands what his mother sacrificed and what he threw away. Social media explodes. The hashtag Delilah Storm trends worldwide within 3 hours. Women share their own stories of being invisible, of funding lives while getting no credit, of making themselves small for men. Who made them feel smaller? The business world reacts with genuine shock. Storm Logistics was the invisible giant behind dozens of corporate successes. Delilah Storm was the genius everyone attributed to various men, consultants, executives, partners who took credit for her work. The emperor had no clothes, and the empress had been there all along, running everything while everyone pretended not to see her. Mark's phone rings continuously with reporters requesting comment. He doesn't answer. What could he possibly say? That he really believed he was important, that he never thought to question how they afforded their lifestyle, that he took his wife's invisibility as confirmation of his superiority. There's nothing to say that doesn't make him look worse. His mother calls. She's seen the interview. Mark, I just learned that woman paid off our mortgage when your father lost his job. You never told me that. You let me think you were successful, that you were helping us when she was carrying all of you. I'm ashamed of you. Your father is ashamed of you. We raised you better than this. His friends, the ones from the golf club, the ones he bought drinks for with money he didn't earn, stop calling. His colleagues, the ones who thought he was successful, avoid his calls. Everyone who ever respected him now knows the truth. He was nothing, pretending to be something, funded entirely by a woman he treated like nothing. And somewhere in Manhattan, in a penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows, Delilah Storm watches the social media response with Robert beside her. She's not celebrating. She's not gloating. She's just finally, completely, entirely visible. How does it feel? Robert asks. Strange, uncomfortable, right. Any regrets? Just one. I regret waiting so long. I regret teaching my children that being small was love. I regret every year I spent invisible. You're visible now. Yes, and I'm never going back to being small again. Chapter 5. The Son Who Broke First. Jason appears at his mother's penthouse at 4 a.m. in the rain, and she almost doesn't let him in. The doorman calls up, apologetic about the early hour. Mrs. Chamberlain, there's a young man in the lobby, says he's your son, Jason. Should I send him away? Robert looks at Delilah across the kitchen island, where they're having early morning coffee, comfortable in routine, happy in a way that still surprises her every morning. Your call. Tell him I'm not available. Robert touches her hand gently. Del. He made his choice, Robert. They all did. He's the one who was crying, in your house, when they ambushed you. Crying but silent. Tears without action are just water. The doorman calls back 5 minutes later. Mom, he's asking me to tell you he'll wait. He's sitting in the lobby. He looks rough, really rough. Delilah closes her eyes. Robert is watching her carefully. He knows her tells, knows when she's fighting herself. Send him up, she finally says. Robert opens the door when Jason knocks. Jason looks destroyed, soaked from rain despite the covered entrance, eyes red and swollen, wearing clothes he's clearly slept in. He's lost weight. He looks like he hasn't slept in days. I need to see my mother. Robert's voice is protective, almost proprietary. She doesn't want to see you. I know, but I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't function, I can't live with what I did. Robert studies him, this boy who hurt the woman he loves. That sounds like your problem, not hers. It is my problem, but I need to tell her anyway, please. Robert disappears inside. Jason can hear low voices, a conversation he can't make out. 2 minutes pass, 3, 5. He's about to leave when Delilah appears in the doorway. She's wearing silk pajamas and a robe, hair down, no makeup, looking younger and happier than Jason has ever seen her. It's jarring. His mother, but not his mother. The same face, but completely different. She doesn't speak, just stands there looking at him. Mom, she holds up a hand. Don't call me that. You lost that privilege when you watched your father's mistress mock me in my own home and said nothing. Jason flinches like she slapped him. I was afraid. Delilah's laugh is bitter, cutting. Afraid of what? Your father? The man I paid to exist? The puppet I funded for 26 years? You were afraid of a man who owned nothing, who controlled nothing, who was nothing without me? That's what scared you? I was afraid of disrupting everything, of making it worse. So you chose your own comfort over my dignity. You watched me be humiliated and you prioritized your own discomfort over my humiliation. That's what you're telling me. Yes, the word is broken. Yes, I'm a coward. I've always been a coward. I watched him hurt you my whole life and I said nothing. The comments at dinner, the way he took credit for things you did, the disrespect, the casual cruelty. I saw all of it and I said nothing because I'm weak. You're not weak, Jason. You're complicit. There's a difference. Weak would be if you tried and failed. You didn't try. You just watched. Jason sinks against the wall, slides down until he's sitting on the floor in her hallway. Cameron doesn't see it. He's blind to Dad's flaws because he wants to be Dad. Emma follows Cameron because she always has. But I saw it. I saw you come home exhausted and Dad complain that dinner wasn't ready. I saw you miss my games and I never asked why. I saw you shrink yourself and I thought you were weak. I was wrong. You weren't weak. You were strong enough to carry all of us, and I'm so sorry. Delilah stares at him for a long moment. Come inside. You're making a scene and my neighbors are elderly. It's not forgiveness, but it's not rejection either. Inside, the penthouse is stunning. Jason has never seen anything like it. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city waking up. Art that probably costs more than the house he grew up in. Furniture that looks like museum pieces. This is his mother's real life, the life she had while pretending to be someone smaller. Robert brings coffee without being asked. Jason sits on a white sofa that looks too expensive to sit on. Delilah sits across from him in an armchair, creating distance, maintaining boundaries. Why are you here, Jason? I read your journals. Emma found them and I read them. All of them. You broke into my office. Yes. Invaded my privacy. Yes. Read my most intimate thoughts without permission. Yes. And I learned that I never knew you at all. I learned that every assumption I made about you was wrong. I learned that you built everything while we built nothing. I learned that you sacrificed everything and we gave nothing. I learned... His voice breaks. I learned about Singapore, about the baby you lost alone. I called Dad and asked him about it. He didn't remember. He didn't even remember you were pregnant. Delilah's face goes still. He was at a golf tournament. A regional championship, he said, like that mattered. Like that was more important than you bleeding and alone. How did you stay with him after that? I thought that's what love was. Enduring, forgiving, sacrificing. I was wrong. Love should never require you to endure cruelty. Jason sets down his coffee with shaking hands. I'm going to be better. I promise you that. I'm going to be someone you can respect. Don't promise me, Jason. Promises are easy. Show me. Prove it. Work for it. How? You'll work for one of my companies, bottom level, entry position. You'll earn every promotion. You'll learn what building actually means instead of just benefiting from what's built. And maybe, in a few years we can have a real conversation about being family again. Which company? I'll let you know. Now leave. Robert and I have plans. Jason stands, walks to the door, then turns back. Can I ask you something? You can ask. The journals. The one where you wrote about Dad saying you were embarrassing at that party because you talked about work. I remember that night. I remember thinking you should just let him talk, let him have the attention. I remember being embarrassed too, and now I know you were the one who just closed the deal he was taking credit for. I'm so sorry I didn't see it. You didn't see it because I taught you not to see it. I taught you I was nothing by acting like I was nothing. That's on me as much as you. Will you ever forgive us? Delilah considers this. Forgiveness isn't a destination, Jason. It's a direction. You can move toward it or away from it. Right now, you're moving toward it. Whether you get there depends on whether you keep moving. He nods and leaves. Delilah stands at the window watching the rain, watching the city wake up. Robert comes up behind her, wraps his arms around her waist. That was hard, he says. Everything worth doing is hard. Do you believe him, that he'll actually change? I believe he wants to change. People want to change all the time. Actually, changing requires staying uncomfortable long enough to become different. Most people can't do it. We'll see if Jason can. You're being very generous. I'm being fair. There's a difference. Generous would be letting him back in my life immediately. Fair is giving him the opportunity to earn it. What if he fails? Then he fails. And I'll know I gave him the chance and he chose not to take it. Either way, I'm at peace. Robert kisses her temple. You're extraordinary. I'm learning to be. For 26 years I thought being extraordinary meant hiding it. Now I'm learning that being extraordinary means owning it. Outside, Jason sits in his car in the rain, engine off. He calls his siblings. Cameron doesn't answer. Emma does. She let you in? Emma sounds shocked. Barely, for 10 minutes. Em, we have so much work to do. I know. She's never going to just forgive us. We have to earn it. I know. Are you ready to do that? I don't know, but I'm going to try. They hang up. Jason starts his car. He has work to do. Years of work, maybe a lifetime of work. But for the first time in his life, he's willing to actually do it. Chapter 6. The Mistress Learns to Work. Lady Grande shows up 8 months pregnant at Delilah's office, and what happens next will change both their lives. Security calls up, apologetic and uncomfortable. Mrs. Chamberlain, there's a woman in the lobby demanding to see you, says her name is Lady Grande and she's pregnant with your ex-husband's baby. Should I call the police? Robert's face darkens immediately. Tell them to remove her. Press charges if necessary. Delilah holds up a hand, curious despite herself. Send her up. Del, you don't have to see her. She helped destroy your marriage. My marriage destroyed itself. She was just there for the collapse. Send her up. This should be interesting. 5 minutes later, Lady Grande, 8 months pregnant, designer bag that's probably fake, confidence that's definitely fake, struts into Delilah's office like she's doing Delilah a favor by being here. Took you long enough to agree to see me. Delilah doesn't stand, doesn't offer a chair, just looks at her. You have 3 minutes. The baby's Mark's. He owes child support. Since he's completely broke, thanks to you by the way, you're going to pay it. Delilah slides a paper across her desk calmly. That's a DNA authorization form. Sign it and we'll establish paternity. Lady Grande's face changes. The confidence cracks. I don't need a test, I know who the father is. Then this conversation is over. Security will escort you out. Fine. Lady Grande grabs the paper, pen poised to sign, then stops. Her hand is shaking. What happens after the test? If the baby is Mark's, I'll establish a trust fund for the child. Not for you, for the child. $50,000 available at age 18. If the baby's not Mark's, you leave my office and never contact my family again. Lady Grande sets down the pen. Her whole body sags. It's not his. I know. The silence is brutal. Lady Grande sinks into a chair, uninvited, suddenly looking much younger than 32, much more vulnerable. How did you know? Mark had a vasectomy 19 years ago, after Jason was born. He told me he was done having children. I paid for it. So, whose baby is it really? The story spills out like water from a broken dam. Her real name is Angela Torres. She's 34, not 28. She has a pattern, a history, target lonely married men, fake a pregnancy or get pregnant by someone else, extort money for silence or child support, disappear to the next city. She's done this 7 times. She has a 15-year-old son named Dylan she abandoned with her mother in Atlanta when he was 12 because motherhood was too hard and cramped her lifestyle. She's broke now. The real father, a bartender she slept with once in a blackout, wants nothing to do with her. She has nowhere to go. She thought Mark was her jackpot, her retirement plan. Instead, he was just another broke man pretending to be rich. Why Mark specifically? Delilah asks, genuinely curious now. He seemed rich, easy target, lonely. He complained about you constantly at the office, said you were cold, never home, didn't appreciate him. I thought if I gave him attention, made him feel important, I could get what I needed and move on. He wasn't rich. I was. I know that now. Learned it the hard way when he couldn't even afford a decent motel room. Delilah studies her. This woman who wore her grandmother's necklace. This woman who helped humiliate her in her own home. Looking at her now, Delilah doesn't feel rage. She feels something unexpected. Pity. This woman is broken, has been broken for a long time. "I'm offering you a job." Angela's head snaps up. "What?" "My foundation for single mothers. Entry-level position, minimum wage. You'll work registration, help with childcare, learn actual skills. You'll raise your baby with dignity instead of lies. Why would you possibly help me? I'm not helping you. I'm giving you one chance to help yourself. You have a baby coming. You have a teenage son you abandoned who deserves a mother. You have no skills, no education, no prospects, and a pattern of behavior that will eventually land you in prison. You can keep running cons until you end up arrested or worse, or you can do something real for the first time in your adult life. What's the catch? You reconnect with Dylan. I'll fund his entire college education if you complete 2 years of honest, consistent work at the foundation. You attend parenting classes. You show up every single day on time. You try, really genuinely try to become someone your children can respect. Angela stares in disbelief. I slept with your husband. Ex-husband, and he's not a prize worth winning. I wore your jewelry. I sat in your chair. I was cruel to you in your own home. Delilah's smile is cold. Yes, you were. And now you'll spend the next 2 years watching real single mothers struggle with grace and dignity while you learn what actual hard work looks like. Consider it penance. Consider it education. Consider it your one chance at becoming someone real. I don't understand you. You don't have to understand me. Do you accept or not? This offer expires when you leave this office, Angela thinks. She's never worked an honest job, never been accountable to anyone, never helped anyone but herself, never stuck with anything hard, but she's also never been this scared, this broke, this alone, this close to rock bottom. I accept. Good. Report Monday at 8 a.m. The address is on this card. Be late once and you're fired. Call in sick without a doctor's note and you're fired. Show me the same work ethic you showed in running cons and you're fired. This is real work, Angela. It's boring, it's repetitive, it doesn't pay well, but it's honest. And honesty is something you've never tried. Angela stands, takes the card with shaking hands. Can I ask you something? Ask. Why aren't you angrier at me? Delilah leans back in her chair. I was married to Mark for 26 years. You lasted 3 weeks before he showed you who he really is. You're not the villain in my story. You're another one of his victims. The difference is I have the power to help you or not. I'm choosing to help. Don't make me regret it. Angela leaves. Robert appears from the side office where he was listening to everything. That was unexpected. She's not evil, Robert. She's broken. There's a difference. She still hurt you. She hurt the version of me that could be hurt. That woman died when I walked out of that house. This version of me gets to choose mercy when people least expect it. Just mercy. Mercy with accountability. She'll work for every bit of help she gets. And maybe she'll become someone better. Or maybe she'll fail spectacularly. Either way, I gave her the chance. What she does with it is her choice. Angela starts Monday. The first week is absolute hell. She's never been on time to anything in her life, never answered to anyone, never cared about anyone but herself. The other women at the foundation, real single mothers juggling minimum wage jobs and babies and bills, look at her with obvious suspicion and distrust. By the second week, her feet hurt constantly. Her back aches. She's exhausted. The work is boring, repetitive, endless. She wants to quit every single day. But then Delilah arranges a phone call with Dylan. He's 15 now, being raised by Angela's mother in Atlanta. Angry, hurt, abandoned. Why did you leave me? His voice cracks. He's trying to sound tough, but he's still just a kid. Angela has no good answer. She tries honesty for maybe the first time in years. I was selfish. I was running from everything hard. I made terrible choices. I'm trying to make better ones now. Why should I believe you? You've said that before. I know, but this time someone is making me prove it. Someone is holding me accountable, and I think I need that. Who? Someone who had every reason to destroy me and chose to help me instead. Someone who's stronger than I'll ever be. Are you using her? The question cuts because Angela has asked herself the same thing. I don't know. Maybe at first. But now I think I'm actually trying. Really trying. Call me next week, Dylan says. If you're still trying then, maybe I'll believe you. It's not forgiveness. But it's not complete rejection either. Angela works, really works, arrives early, stays late, learns from the women she used to look down on, helps with children she would have ignored before, changes slowly, painfully, reluctantly at first, and then with something like genuine effort. Mark hears about it somehow and calls her from his motel. She doesn't answer. He leaves voicemails, raging, accusing, calling her a traitor. Even his mistress chose Delilah over him. Even the woman who helped destroy his marriage now works for his ex-wife. But Angela doesn't think about Mark anymore. She thinks about her baby, about Dylan, about becoming someone who can look at herself in the mirror without flinching. 6 months in, she brings Dylan to meet Delilah. He's taller than Angela now, guarded, skeptical. Delilah takes them to lunch and talks to Dylan like he's an adult. Asks about school, about his interests, about his dreams. Your mother tells me you want to study engineering. Dylan nods warily. If I can afford it, you'll be able to afford it. Full scholarship to any state school when you graduate high school. That's my commitment to you if your mother keeps showing up. Dylan looks at Angela. Is she still showing up? Every day, Angela says quietly. I haven't missed one day in 6 months. Something shifts in Dylan's face, not forgiveness, but maybe the beginning of belief. Delilah watches them leave together, Angela carrying her infant daughter, Dylan walking beside them protectively. Robert joins her at the window. Think she'll make it? I think she's trying. That's more than I expected. You changed her life. No, I gave her the tools. She's the one doing the work. There's a difference. And in that difference, Delilah has given Angela something she never had before, the chance to become someone real. Chapter 7. The Public Execution. Mark crashes Delilah's company anniversary gala, drunk and screaming, and 50 million people will watch him destroy himself. Storm Logistics. International's 30th anniversary gala is the business event of the year. 800 guests fill the ballroom of the Mandarin Oriental. Every major business leader in North America, tech CEOs, manufacturing titans, logistics experts, politicians, press everywhere. Delilah enters in a crimson Valentino gown that fits like it was painted on, diamonds at her throat. Not her grandmother's necklace, she'll never wear that again after Lady Grande touched it. New diamonds, bigger, Robert's gift. She looks like power incarnate, like money and success and everything she always was but never got to show. Robert is beside her in a Tom Ford tuxedo, silver hair perfect, watching her like she's the only person in the room. They're magnetic together, equal partners, real love, the kind that's obvious to everyone watching, the kind that makes people look away because it feels too intimate to witness. The ballroom erupts in applause when she enters. Standing ovation. 800 of the most powerful people in American business rising to their feet for a woman most of them didn't know existed a year ago. She gives a speech about building things that last, about integrity, about the importance of being visible even when it's uncomfortable. For 3 decades I hid my light because I thought that's what good wives did. I was wrong. Hiding your light doesn't make others shine brighter. It just makes the world darker. The applause is thunderous. Mark watches from a bar 6 blocks away. He's been drinking since noon, watching the live stream on his phone propped against a napkin holder, watching his ex-wife be celebrated while he's forgotten. The bartender recognizes him from the viral videos, doesn't say anything, just keeps pouring. I built that company, Mark tells no one in particular. 30 years, I built it. She just handled the paperwork. Another customer glances at him, recognizes him, quickly looks away. Mark sees it, sees the recognition and the dismissal. It happens everywhere now. People recognize him and immediately look away like he's contagious. He drains his whiskey, orders another, watches Delilah shine on his phone screen, watches Robert Chamberlain kiss her hand, watches them dance, watches them be happy. Something breaks inside him. He leaves money he can't afford to spend and walks 6 blocks. The hotel security is busy with arriving guests. He slips past, makes it to the ballroom. The doors are closed but not locked. He opens them and walks in. 800 people turn to stare. "You bitch!" His voice echoes across the sudden silence. "You destroyed my life. You destroyed everything." Delilah doesn't move, doesn't flinch, just sets down her champagne glass and turns to face him calmly. Mark staggers toward her, drunk and furious and desperate. "I gave you everything, 26 years. I supported you. I built our life. I made you. You were nothing before me." Security is moving toward him, but Delilah holds up one hand. They stop. She walks toward Mark slowly, every eye in the room on her. When she speaks, her voice is calm, clear, carries perfectly across the silent ballroom. "You supported me, Mark? You built our life? Let's test that. Name one bill you ever paid with money you actually earned yourself." "I'll wait." Mark stumbles, loses his train of thought. "I worked every day of our marriage. At a company I owned, in a position I created, with a salary I funded. You were my most expensive charity case, Mark. I paid you $300,000 a year to play executive and pretend you mattered." The crowd gasps. Phones are out. Everyone is recording. This will be everywhere by morning. Mark's face turns red. "I was a good husband. I loved you. You were a parasite. You took credit for my work, spent my money and complained I was never home while I was building the empire that paid for your golf memberships and your mistress's fake designer bags. I loved you." Delilah's laugh is cruel, cutting. "You loved the lifestyle I provided. You didn't love me. You never even saw me. To love someone, you have to see them first. I was invisible to you except as a source of funding." Mark lunges at her. Security grabs him immediately, professionally, but Delilah isn't done. "You want to know what you gave me in 26 years, Mark? 3 children I loved despite your influence, a masterclass in what never to accept again, and the clarity to understand that setting myself on fire to keep you warm wasn't love, it was self-destruction. So thank you. Thank you for showing me exactly who you are. It made leaving you the easiest decision I ever made." Mark is dragged toward the exit, screaming incoherently. Delilah turns back to the crowd like nothing happened. "I apologize for the interruption. Some people struggle to accept that their relevance was always borrowed. Let's continue celebrating what we built through actual work." She raises her glass. "To building things that last, to being visible, to never apologizing for being powerful." The crowd erupts. Robert approaches and kisses her in front of 800 people and every camera. The moment is captured from 20 different angles. Will be on social media in minutes. By midnight, the video has 5 million views. By morning, 50 million. Mark being dragged out while Delilah stands in a crimson gown, unbothered, devastating, powerful. The comments are merciless. He really thought he was important. The delusion is incredible. She's a queen. He's pathetic. This is what happens when men take credit for women's work. Mark watches the video from his motel room, over and over, watching himself be humiliated globally, watching himself become a meme, watching the world choose her. His phone rings, his mother. "Mark, I watched what you did. How could you embarrass yourself like that? How could you embarrass our family?" "She ruined me, Mum. She took everything. She funded everything. I just learned from the foundation. She donated $200,000 to rebuild our church after the fire. In your father's name. You never told us that. You let us think you were successful when she was carrying you your entire adult life. I'm ashamed of you. Your father won't even talk about you. We raised you better than this." She hangs up. Mark's friends stop calling. His brothers stop answering. Everyone who ever respected him now knows the truth. He was nothing, pretending to be something, funded entirely by a woman he treated like nothing. Emma watches the video from the back of the ballroom where she snuck in to see her mother from a distance. She saw everything. Her mother in that crimson gown, powerful and free, with a man who clearly worships her. She watches her father be dragged out like trash. She thinks about the journals, about 26 years of making herself small, and she realizes her mother isn't being cruel. She's being honest, and honesty, after years of comfortable lies, looks like brutality to people who benefited from the lies. Cameron watches from his friend's couch. For the first time in his life, he feels genuine shame about his father. Shame that he defended him. Shame that he didn't see the truth. Shame that he became exactly like him. Jason watches from the foundation where he's been working 60-hour weeks learning logistics from the ground up. He's proud of his mother, proud she finally stopped apologizing for being powerful. Angela watches with the other foundation workers. One of them says, "That's our boss. She's incredible." Angela nods, thinking about who she was when she met Mark, who she was trying to con. She is. She saved my life. She thinks about Delilah showing her grace she didn't deserve, showing her what real power looks like. Not manipulation, not lies, not taking, just building something real and refusing to apologize for it. Mark sits alone in his motel room watching the video of his complete public humiliation on a loop. And Delilah is in her penthouse drinking champagne, laughing with Robert, planning their vacation to Italy, not thinking about Mark Wahlberg at all. She won. Completely, publicly, permanently, and she's never, ever looking back. Chapter 8. The Daughter's Choice. Emma shows up on Thanksgiving carrying only a suitcase and the journals, and Delilah makes her wait at the door for 10 minutes before deciding. Cameron is with Mark in a cheap apartment on the outskirts of the city, still defending him, still insisting their mother is vindictive and overreacted. Jason has been living with Delilah and Robert for 4 months now, working brutal hours, learning logistics from literally the bottom. He started in the warehouse, is working his way up department by department. When Emma appears at the penthouse door at 8 in the morning on Thanksgiving, Jason answers. His face is hard when he sees her. "You don't get to just show up." "I know, but I need to see her." "She doesn't want to see you, Emma. You made your choice." "I was wrong, I was so wrong. Please, Jason." He studies his sister. She looks different, thinner, older. Her designer clothes are gone. She's wearing jeans and a Target sweater. Her hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup, no jewelry. The transformation is startling. "Wait here." Jason goes inside. Delilah is in the kitchen cooking with Robert. Actually cooking, not catering. She's wearing an apron over casual clothes, laughing at something Robert said, looking relaxed and happy. This is what she looks like now. This is who she is when she's not performing for people who don't appreciate her. "Emma's at the door," Jason says. Delilah doesn't stop chopping vegetables. "Tell her to leave." "I think she's different, Mom." "Different how?" "I don't know exactly, but she looks broken. Really broken. And she's carrying your journals." Delilah sets down the knife. "She has no right to those." Robert touches her hand. "Technically, she broke into your office to steal them, but also she read them, all of them. And maybe that changed something." Jason came back the next day. It's been months since Emma made her choice. Maybe it took her longer to see the truth. Some people need more time. Delilah walks to the door. Emma is standing in the hallway holding a worn suitcase and a stack of leather journals, Delilah's journals from the office. All 27 of them. "Emma?" "Mum?" Emma's voice cracks immediately. "I brought your journals back. I shouldn't have taken them. I read them all. Every single page. Every word. I know what I did. I know who you are. And I'm so sorry." Delilah doesn't invite her in. Sorry doesn't change anything. "I know, but I needed to say it anyway. You needed to make yourself feel better about being wrong." Emma flinches but doesn't argue. "Maybe, probably, but I also needed you to know that I see you now, the real you, and I'm ashamed of who I was, ashamed of how I treated you, ashamed of what I said. You called me pathetic in front of your father's mistress. I was wrong. You stood there while she wore grandmother's necklace and said nothing. I was blind. No, Emma, you were comfortable. You benefited from my work and didn't want to acknowledge it because acknowledging it would mean admitting you were complicit in your father's lies. Emma's crying now, tears streaming down her face. You're right. You're completely right. I took everything and gave nothing. I judged you for working instead of understanding you were working for us. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. Delilah studies her daughter, really looks at her. What do you want from me? I want to know you, not as the mother who funded my life, not as the ATM that occasionally disappointed me, as the person you actually are. That person doesn't need your approval anymore. I know. But maybe she'll let me earn a relationship anyway. Maybe she'll give me the chance to become someone worthy of knowing her. The silence stretches for a full minute. Finally, Delilah speaks. You'll volunteer at the foundation, 6 months minimum, full time. You'll work with Angela doing registration. You'll see what real struggle looks like. You'll help people who have nothing and still maintain dignity. You'll learn what building actually means when you don't have advantages handed to you. Okay. You'll live on your own. No money from me. You'll get a real job to pay rent. You'll understand what it means to actually work, to actually struggle, to actually earn things. Okay. And after 6 months, if you've shown up every single day, if you've done the work without complaint, if you've genuinely changed, then we'll talk about maybe rebuilding a relationship. Maybe. Emma nods through her tears. Can I ask you something? Ask. Do you hate me? Delilah's expression softens almost imperceptibly. No, I don't hate you. I'm disappointed in you. I'm angry at you. I'm hurt by your choices, but I don't hate you. Hate would be easier. Hate would be cleaner. This is messier. Can I come in, just for Thanksgiving? I promise I'll leave right after. I just want to see you be happy, just once. Delilah steps aside. Come in. But Emma, this isn't forgiveness. This is me giving you a chance to earn what you should have valued all along. Thanksgiving is strange and beautiful and awkward all at once. Delilah, Robert, Jason and Emma around a table that could seat 12. The food is incredible. The conversation is careful. Robert tells stories about Delilah in business negotiations that make everyone laugh, stories about her demolishing executives 3 times her size, about her brilliant strategic moves, about her refusing to be underestimated. Jason talks about what he's learning in logistics, how complicated it is, how brilliant his mother is for building this empire, how much respect he has for what she accomplished. Emma is quiet, watching her mother be happy. Really happy, genuinely, freely happy. You're different, Emma says finally. How so? Lighter. Like you've been carrying weight your whole life and finally put it down. Delilah smiles. That's exactly what it feels like. I never saw you smile like this before. You and Robert, the way you are together. Robert squeezes Delilah's hand. That's because I never required her to be less than she is. I loved her for being more, for being exactly herself. Emma looks at them, sees real love, real partnership, real happiness. Dad never loved you, did he? He loved what I provided, the lifestyle, the status, the money, but me, the actual person? No. I don't think he ever even tried to know me, and I enabled that by hiding who I was, and you stayed anyway. I stayed because I thought sacrifice was love, because I thought making myself small was noble, because I was afraid of being alone, because I thought I was nothing without someone to build up. Delilah looks at Robert. I'm not afraid anymore, and I know now I was never nothing. I was just making myself nothing. Emma's phone buzzes. Cameron calling. She ignores it. He's angry I'm here, Emma says. He's angry at everyone, Jason says. Called me a traitor last week for living here. Are we traitors? Emma asks. Delilah's answer is firm, clear. You're learning that loyalty isn't the same as complicity. Your father is a fraud who spent 26 years taking credit for work he didn't do. Being loyal to that isn't honorable, it's enabling. You're not betraying him. You're finally choosing truth over comfortable lies. After dinner, Emma helps clean up the dishwasher, the counters, the table. Simple domestic tasks that feel meaningful somehow. Working alongside her mother, actually helping instead of expecting to be served. Mom? Yes? I'm glad you left. I'm glad you chose yourself. I just wish I'd made it easier for you. I wish I'd chosen you. Delilah stops washing dishes and looks at her daughter. So do I, but you didn't. And we can't change that. We can only move forward from here. Can we move forward together? We'll see. Show up. Do the work. Prove you mean it. Then we'll talk. Emma nods. She leaves that evening with a hug from Jason and a polite goodbye from her mother. It's not warm, but it's not complete rejection either. It's possibility. It's potential. It's a door left slightly open. Robert and Delilah stand at the window watching her get into her beat-up car. Think she'll follow through? Robert asks. I think she wants to. Whether she will, that depends on how uncomfortable she's willing to be while changing. You're giving them all chances. I'm giving them opportunities to earn their way back. That's different from giving chances. Chances are free. These require real work, real change, real sustained effort. Robert kisses her temple. You're remarkable. I'm learning to be. For 26 years I thought being remarkable meant hiding it so others could feel good about themselves. Now I'm learning that being remarkable means owning it. It's uncomfortable, but it's honest. I love you. I know. That's the difference between you and Mark. You love me, the actual person I am. He loved what I could do for him, what I could provide, what I could be to serve his ego. I'll never confuse those two things again. They go to bed in a penthouse Mark never knew existed, in a life Delilah built while he took credit, with love that's real instead of transactional. And Emma goes home to an apartment she can barely afford working 2 jobs. But she has journals that tell the truth, and she has a chance, one chance, to become someone worthy of her mother's respect. She starts at the foundation Monday, shows up 15 minutes early. It's a beginning. Chapter 9. The Heir Who Kneels. Cameron appears at Christmas with the truth about why he defended Mark, and it's the hardest thing he's ever done. Emma and Jason are at the penthouse decorating a massive tree with Delilah and Robert. The past month has been good. Emma is working at the foundation, keeping her head down, learning. Jason is excelling in logistics, impressing supervisors who have no idea he's the owner's son. They're slowly rebuilding something real with their mother, slowly earning their way back. The doorman calls. Mrs. Chamberlain, Cameron Wahlberg is downstairs. Should I send him away? Emma and Jason freeze mid-decoration. Jason immediately says, yes, send him away. Delilah looks at Robert, who squeezes her hand. Your decision. She thinks for a long moment. Send him up. Mom, no. Jason's voice is firm. He's made his choice. He's still defending Dad. He called me last week and said we're betraying family. Then let him say it to my face. Let him explain himself. I want to hear what he has to say. 5 minutes later, Cameron enters. Emma gasps. He looks completely different. Destroyed. The arrogance is gone. The swagger is gone. He's lost weight. His clothes are cheap, off the rack. He's carrying nothing but a beaten-down expression and genuine fear in his eyes. He doesn't make excuses, doesn't attack, just sits on the couch across from his family and speaks. I defended Dad because I'm exactly like him. The words hit like a bomb. I took credit for group projects in college while other people did all the work. I got fired from my job 8 months ago for incompetence, and I've been lying about going to work every single day since then. I'd leave the apartment in a suit and sit in coffee shops pretending I had somewhere to be. My wife didn't leave me just because of the money. She left because she finally saw I'm a fraud. I brag about things I didn't earn. I take credit for things I didn't do. I'm a smaller, less successful version of Dad, and I always knew it. Deep down, I always knew. Delilah doesn't speak. Nobody speaks. Cameron continues, voice shaking. When you exposed Dad, you exposed me. Every lie you revealed about him was a lie I was also living. If Dad was wrong, Then I was wrong, and I couldn't face that. So I defended him, because defending him meant defending myself, because if he could still be right somehow, then maybe I wasn't completely broken. So you chose comfortable lies over uncomfortable truth, Delilah says. Yes, every time, my whole life. You called me vindictive. You said I was cruel. You said I was punishing Dad for no reason. You weren't vindictive. You were honest. And honest felt like cruelty because I've been living lies for so long that truth looked like violence. Why are you here, Cameron? He takes a shaky breath. I've been working at a warehouse for 3 months, loading trucks, moving boxes, real work for the first time in my life. And Mom, I'm good at it. When I'm not pretending to be important, when I'm just doing actual work, I'm actually competent at something. I learned that from watching you. You just worked and built and never needed applause because the work itself mattered. I didn't need applause because I never got it. I know, and that was wrong. We should have seen you. We should have appreciated you. We should have asked how you did it all instead of judging you for not doing even more. But you didn't. No, we didn't. We took and never said thank you, never asked questions, never wondered, I'm so sorry. Delilah stands up. Why are you here, Cameron? What do you want? Money? Absolution? Permission to feel better about being a fraud? No. Cameron stands too, faces her. I want to work for you. Bottom level, your warehouse, employee housing, no special treatment. I want to earn my way back into your life the way Jason has been doing, the way Emma is trying to do. I want to prove I can change. Why would I possibly trust you? Because I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to let me prove I can become someone different. I'll work for however long it takes, a year, 5 years, 10 years, however long. And if you fail, if you quit, if you revert to the entitled fraud you've been your whole life, then I'm dead to you permanently. I understand that. I accept that. The room is silent. Emma watches her mother's face. Jason crosses his arms, openly skeptical. Robert stays neutral, letting Delilah decide. Finally, Delilah speaks. Her voice is cold, measured. You'll start Monday, warehouse labor, minimum wage. You'll live in employee housing, a small studio apartment, nothing fancy. You'll report to the warehouse supervisor. He won't know you're my son. If he finds out and treats you differently, better or worse, you'll tell me immediately. You'll do this for 1 full year before I even consider having a real conversation with you about being family again. I understand. Cameron, look at me. He meets her eyes. She's powerful, unbreakable. Nothing like the mother he remembers, nothing like the woman he took for granted. I gave you everything. You stood against me. I built you a future. You threw it away for comfortable lies. You chose a fraud over someone who actually built something real. If you fail at this, if you quit, if you disappoint me one more time, you're done. Permanently. No second chances. No more opportunities. Done. Do you understand? I understand completely. Why do you think you can change? You've been this person your whole life. Why should I believe you're capable of becoming someone different? Cameron's voice breaks. Because I'm more afraid of staying this person than I am of the work it'll take to change. Because I see what you built and I see what Dad is, and I know which one I want to be more like. Because for the first time in my life, I'm more uncomfortable being a fraud than I would be doing actual hard work. Delilah studies him for a long moment. Then leave. I'll email you instructions on where to report Monday. Cameron stands. Can I ask you something? Ask. Do you believe I can actually change? Delilah's smile is sad, knowing. I believe you want to change right now. Whether you'll actually change depends on whether you're willing to stay uncomfortable long enough to become different. Most people aren't. Most people quit the moment the discomfort outweighs the shame. We'll see which kind you are. Cameron leaves. The door closes. Jason speaks first. He's going to fail. He's never done real work. He'll quit within a month. Probably, Delilah agrees. Then why give him the chance? Emma asks. Because he asked. Because he was honest about who he is for maybe the first time in his life, and because I want to be the kind of person who gives chances even when I don't believe they'll be taken. If he fails, that's on him. But I won't fail to give him the opportunity to try. Robert smiles. You're getting softer. I'm being fair. Fair and soft aren't the same thing. Soft would be letting him back into my life immediately. Fair is making him earn it over time with sustained effort. Christmas dinner is quiet. They talk about other things, but everyone is thinking about Cameron starting at the warehouse Monday, trying to become someone better, trying to escape the person he's always been. Emma thinks about her own journey, how hard it's been, how humbling, how necessary. She's learned more about herself in 6 months than in her entire life before. Jason thinks about the work he's done, the long hours, the learning, the way he's different now from who he was. Better, more honest, more real. Delilah thinks about her children, all 3 of them trying, in their own ways, at their own pace, to become people worthy of her respect. It's more than Mark ever tried to do, more than Mark was capable of doing, and that, she realizes, is real progress. Chapter 10. The silent storm clears. 5 years later, everything has changed in ways none of them could have imagined. The stage is enormous, the lights are blinding, and the crowd is thousands strong. Delilah Storm walks out in a silver Givenchy gown, her hair completely grey now and stunning, perfectly styled, 61 years old and more powerful than she's ever been. The award is Businesswoman of the Decade. The applause is deafening, sustained, genuine. Robert sits in the front row beside Jason, Emma, and Cameron. Jason is 28 now, Director of Legal Affairs for Storm Logistics. Emma is 33, Executive Director of the Storm Foundation, which has expanded to help 10,000 single mothers annually across 15 states. Cameron is 31, Operations Manager for the Northeast Warehouse Division, a position he earned through 5 years of genuine hard work. Delilah speaks, and her voice is strong, clear, confident. She commands the room effortlessly. 27 years ago, I made a choice to become invisible so someone I loved could feel important. I convinced myself that sacrifice was love, that making myself small made others bigger. I was wrong. Real love doesn't require one person to disappear so another can exist. She gestures to Robert, who's watching her with undisguised pride and love. Real love celebrates both people. Real love sees you and loves what it sees. Real love is what I have now with a man who waited 23 years for me to be free. The crowd applauds. Delilah continues. I spent decades building an empire while pretending I was nothing. I funded lives, created opportunities, changed entire industries while hiding behind a man who contributed nothing but ego and entitlement and endless criticism. The day I stopped hiding was the day I started living my actual life. She pauses, looking directly at her 3 children. I have 3 children. For years they believed comfortable lies because I was too afraid to tell uncomfortable truths. When I finally stopped lying, they chose the lie over me. That broke me, but it also freed me, because I learned that relationships built on lies aren't relationships at all. They're transactions, and I'm done with transactions. Emma wipes her eyes. Jason grips the armrest. Cameron stares at his hands, shame and pride warring on his face. My youngest son learned that real power comes from building, not from birth or luck. My daughter learned that privilege is responsibility, not entitlement. My oldest son learned that humility isn't weakness, it's the foundation of real strength. They're earning their way back into my life, slowly, painfully, honestly, and I'm letting them because change is possible. But I will never shrink myself again, not for them, not for anyone. The audience erupts in applause. After the ceremony, reporters swarm. One asks about Mark. Mrs. Chamberlain, your ex-husband is reportedly living in another state, working retail. Do you have anything to say to him? Delilah thinks for a moment. I hope he finds peace and self-awareness, but not with me. That chapter is permanently closed. Do you regret how you handled the divorce? Some critics have called your actions vindictive. Delilah's smile is sharp. but not cruel. I regret staying 26 years. I regret making myself small. I regret teaching my children that tolerating disrespect is what love looks like. I regret every day I spent invisible, but I regret nothing I did after I left. Walking away from abuse isn't cruelty, it's self-love. And self-love is something I had to learn late in life, but I'm not unlearning it ever again. Outside the venue, Angela appears with her 2 sons. Dylan is 20 now, a junior at Georgia Tech, studying industrial engineering. Her younger son, Marcus, is 5, happy and healthy and loved. She hugs Delilah tightly. "You saved my life." Delilah hugs her back. "I gave you a chance. You saved yourself by doing the work." Dylan shakes Delilah's hand. "Thank you for believing in my mom when nobody else did, including me. Your mom did the hard part. All I did was hold her accountable." Cameron stands nearby with his wife, not the woman who left him, but someone new, someone he met at the warehouse who loved him for who he was becoming, not who he pretended to be. She's 8 months pregnant with a daughter they're naming Delilah. Emma has started her own nonprofit teaching wealthy children about wealth responsibility, about not taking privilege for granted, about understanding sacrifice. She's good at it. She's found purpose. Jason brings his boyfriend, an attorney he met through work. He's finally completely himself in a family that now chooses truth over comfort. Robert takes Delilah's hand as they walk to the car. "How does it feel?" Delilah looks back at her children. All of them changed, all of them better, all of them finally real instead of performative. "Like I can finally breathe, like I'm finally me." "Any regrets?" "Just one. I regret not doing it sooner. I regret every year I spent pretending, but I can't change the past. I can only live honestly now." In the car, she looks out at the city she conquered quietly for 3 decades before finally claiming credit. No longer invisible, no longer silent, no longer small. The woman who walked away in silence became the storm that changed everything, and somewhere in another state, in a small apartment he can barely afford, Mark Wahlberg occasionally sees news about his ex-wife. Awards, expansions, successes. He tells himself she got lucky. He tells himself he built the foundation she's capitalizing on. He tells himself comfortable lies because the truth is unbearable. But the truth exists whether he accepts it or not. He was always nothing, pretending to be something, funded entirely by a woman who chose to be small so he could feel big. And Delilah Storm, the woman he dismissed, the wife he betrayed, the genius he never saw, is living her best life without him, finally visible, finally powerful, finally completely, gloriously free. The end.